Hey goddess, welcome back. It's Andrea with You Are Mind, Body, Soul. And today I'm going to talk to you about what dance and what movement has done for me, what I have learned through my process as a dancer and as a mover. Before I get started, I want to remind you that it helps my channel, my new channel that is just slowly starting to bloom and blossom. It helps out so much when you just hit that like button and you subscribe and you share this information. I'm having so much fun creating this content and just sharing these parts of myself. I would love for this to touch as many people as possible. And you can help me out by clicking the like button. All right. So today, let's talk about that. So for those of you that don't know, I am an aerialist. So I teach pole, I teach the aerial hoop. I'm certified in both of these. I'm also certified in yoga, and I'm certified in liquid motion as well. Like I have a ton of movement certifications, and movement is something that I have been doing since I was a child. My movement journey and my journey with music is probably one of like the journey before pole dance is one of like the most understated aspects of my life. I played multiple instruments, including the drums, the flute. What else have I played? I haven't played the guitar. We didn't get to that. But I played the piano was the first instrument that I played. So I am like an incredibly musical, rhythmic person. And that's something that I got from a previous lifetime. Like I incarnated with the affinity for music and flow. So the first thing that I want to share with you that I've learned from being a mover is how to be fearless through the process of freestyling. Okay. So all of life, if you think about your life as a great masterpiece that you are creating, oftentimes with masterpieces, we may start off with an idea of how we want something to go. If you're working on a project, a piece of art, something that you're creating, the way in which it finishes is oftentimes not the way in which you perceived it initially. Right. And so when it comes to fears and dealing with the process of fear, I have learned how to become fearless because as a dancer and as a mover, I realize that if I just focus on what I am creating in the process, the journey, rather than the destination or the final outcome, that allows me to get into a place where I'm able to actually tune out the outside influences and the anxiety of being seen and the anxiety of being judged. And I can just work on my creative process of flow and development. And fear in itself is only nurtured through our attention. So anytime that you fear something, if you refocus your attention into the process of what it takes to overcome that fear, you put one foot in front of the others, you take the steps, then you are going to walk your way and work your way right through that fear. So I noticed after a while, like when I started to perform, so I am a performer, I prepare performers for recitals and things like that. And I noticed like this weird thing about myself. And I think I'm starting to realize what it is as I'm talking it out with you guys. Like I would prepare for the performance, I would have this vision for what I want to create. And I get like totally locked in with that process. And I have like a lot of energy moving through my body. So oftentimes that can equate to anxiety. Right? Anxiety is when you have excess energy in your body or when you're focusing like a bit too much on the future. So I noticed that when it came time for me to actually perform, that kind of like all of my nerves go away and I'm no longer nervous or anxious about like the actual performance. It's kind of like I'm like, okay, I'm here, like I don't care. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. And I just enjoy the process. And I think that a part of that is because I get so in tune with the story that I create for myself about whatever story I'm telling through my body, that I'm so focused on that the actual fear and anxiety of being seen and being witnessed by the audience kind of just goes away, right? So you can translate this to anything that you may fear in life. So I know a woman that's afraid of flying. And one day, like, she used to fly. And then one day she just made this decision in her mind where she was like, I'm not gonna fly anymore. I'm afraid of it. So she's told herself, like, this is a fear that I have. And I'm not going to do anything about it. Like, I'm just going to be what it is. And so an example like that, you would just book the flight, get your bags packed, go to the airport. Like, don't think about all of the things that could happen or could go wrong, in creating these false narratives in your mind that stop you from having potentially the experience of a lifetime in a different place that you may not have gone to before. You just take the steps and you walk yourself there. And this is how you essentially overcome fear, is if you see the journey and you see the process as art, as something that you are creating, rather than being tied to the actual outcome. Because once it's done, it is a memory, it's in the books, and it's in the past. So this is something that I've learned about being a mover and being a dancer. Okay. The next thing that I've learned about being a dancer and being a mover in my life is the process of rhythm and flow. And y'all know I got my notes right there as usual. You know how we roll. There is no script for this. I'm just speaking as it all comes through me. Okay. So the next thing, biggest thing that I've learned as a dancer and as a mover is rhythm and flow. And not only just having rhythm and flow when it comes to how I allow the music to translate in the different parts of my body, but more importantly is how I allow rhythm and flow to translate into my life. So if you took my recent course, the Mind, Body, Soul Cleanse, we talk about how we create rhythm and flow through our nutritional lifestyle and how we connect that with the rhythm of life and the rhythm of earth. So especially as the divine feminine, like, one of the most essential things about goddess alchemy and how I created goddess alchemy itself as a concept is understanding my divine connection to source. And everything in nature, if you start to observe it, has a rhythm and it has a flow. And because us as goddesses, as reflection of earth, of mother earth, we each have our own individual rhythms as well that we're able to tap into just by creating presence and creating awareness, which we have talked about. So just recognizing what your rhythmic patterns are going to be one of the most incredible tools that you can learn to sharpen throughout life, because ultimately your body is an instrument. I love to see my body as an instrument. My body has to stay fine-tuned in a certain way, you know? So if your instrument, yourself, your physical vehicle, has a certain frequency that it needs, like, you have to feed it certain things for your body to sing and for you to emanate and for you to have this experience of vibrancy. There are certain things that you know that you feel great when you eat. There's things that you don't feel so great when you eat. There are experiences that you have that affect the harmony in which your body, mind, soul, ship, that is the trifecta of your being, how it operates. So, but the body itself, I love to see it as an instrument. And when I am cultivating awareness in my life and the way that I carry my life, I think about everything in my experience contributing to how well fine-tuned that instrument is. And this is something that was channeled into me back when I was in my pre-med years and I was learning about the body. And then I started to study spirituality. while I was getting that scientific information. And then I started to get nutritional information along my journey. And I realized that all of these things, they coalesce in order for us to be well tuned as individuals and to get the most out of life. So as you wake up and you start to step into life and you start to have that experience, I want you to start asking yourself, like, how fine-tuned is the instrument of my body today? You know, I am also a writer. So my mind is a big tool of what I use, as well as I use my mind to create choreography, mostly for my students. But I create choreography. So cognitively, mentally, I have to be in a certain space where I can create regularly. And I know that I need to be eating and drinking the right things in order for the instrument of my mind, in order for the instrument of my creativity to be in alignment so that I can produce, because we've got these routines to create. We got performances to do, and the show must go on. But I digress. So yes, okay, dance and movement comes with rhythm, okay, and awareness of whatever that rhythm is. So underneath life, like at every moment, every day, your life is going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So let this be a meditation for you and see how well you can tune into the pulse of life. And then, things always get weird when that pulse is thrown off, when we're thrown off of our rhythm. It's kind of like how we've had this smoke passing through. So I live in Connecticut, and we've been affected by the smoke of the fires that have been coming through, and that has thrown people off of their rhythm. At the end of the day, we are inhabitants of this earth, and we are susceptible to earth changes. There's no denying that. And, when you start to move your body and be more in tune with your body through dance and through movement, you recognize this, you respect it more. So the next thing that I have learned through dance and movement, what should I talk about next? Because the next two are juicy, okay? So what I'm going to talk about next is sensuality, is how to become a sensual being, okay? And my eye is itching. And I hope you all love my earrings. I got these from Diverse. Her name is Diana. I'll leave the link below. She creates this amazing handcrafted jewelry. It is just so beautiful, her work. I feel like a goddess. Okay. So the next thing I have learned through movement is sensual embodiment. And I actually learned this not on the pole, but through yoga, through my practice of yoga. And, for a while I practiced yoga, and that acquainted me with the energetic bodies that we have inside of us. So there's the physical body and there is the goddess body, which I call it the goddess body. It's the energetic body. Okay. And through my study of yoga and through my practice of yoga and just tuning in, sitting in nature, listening to my body and moving my body, it has taught me how to really feel into my senses. Because what is sensuality? Sensuality it's your senses. So it's your touch, it's your sight, it's your smell, it's sound. It's your sound as the fire truck passes by. I'll let that pass. Okay. So sensuality pertains to the senses. And when you are in your feminine embodiment, you are aware with your senses. You're not just aware with your mind and letting the mind do all of the work for you. That is a very masculine way of living. So your senses become awakened and you start to have the embodiment in the richness of experiencing life sensationally. Okay. And it just changes the entire game when you are able to wake up and you can condition yourself to go into a meditative mindfulness state where you connect with yourself. As your day starts to continue, you'll realize so much more. Your awareness will be so much more sensitive because you took the time to tune in with yourself. And we can only experience this reality to the level and the depth in which we are able to experience ourselves. Woo! That was a good one. I will repeat that. We are only able to experience this reality to the level and the depths in which we are able to experience ourselves, because all is self. And that is why I'm such a big advocate for goddess energy, divine feminine energy, because the more that we tap into this sensuality, this sacred essence, the more we're able to create beauty in this reality. And I feel like a large responsibility falls within us to create a more beautiful reality, a more beautiful society, because the pendulum is swinging towards divine feminine awakening. And so it's important for us to become apprentices of ourselves and to become devotees of our inner goddess so that we can start to allow that to be reflected in the reality outside of us. My tapestry behind me, which is why I keep it, says, as above, so below. And then below it says, as within, so without. And this is just one of the principles that I live by. Okay. So the sensuality, the feeling comfortable in my body, the not worrying about in my mind what people think about me or how they view my body, or always having to show up and film myself whenever I'm dancing on the pole. Like, that's my personal practice. It's for my personal fulfillment. And the most important thing that matters at the end of the day is that you're happy with your body and that you feel healthy and that you are fine tuning your instrument so that it can be in harmony with whatever frequency you feel is robust and healthy and delicious for you. Okay. The last thing I want to talk about that I learned, which I've kind of started to touch on, is the sacred feminine when it comes to dance and movement. And I will honestly have to say that it does come back for me to yoga, because when you do yoga, and especially like I have my personal practice of yoga and energy work, which all kind of falls along the same spectrum. And then I have like my formal education in yoga. And one of the things that we really started to do was get into like breath work. And, I've just always had this deep space with yogic movement, any kind of movement in its own, which brings me to another point that I'm going to mention. I'm going to do a bonus one, even though I'm not counting. Okay. So sacred feminine, sacred sensuality. So this is kind of an intimate story, and it's the first time that I've talked about it on this platform to this extent. But when I was going through my dark night of the soul, and why I say that my sexuality and my sensuality in last week's video contributed a lot in my survival through my dark night of the soul and the ego death that I experienced, was because I had recently discovered Kundalini energy through movement. Let me think, how did I first discover Kundalini energy? It was through breath work. I went to a seminar for Qigong, which is a form of like energetic movement. It's kind of in that same realm as like Tai Chi. And we were doing a breath work exercise and I had a Kundalini awakening. I remember laying on the mat and we were doing like 100 breaths. And I felt like this wave of energy come up and go through my crown. And later on, I found that it was actually Kundalini. So my sacred feminine energy comes through when I meditate and when I do breath work. And also when I move or when I'm listening to music, like when I'm playing the drums, I can feel my Kundalini awakening. And please like, share, subscribe. And if you want to hear more about any of these topics, remember, please feel free to comment below. I would love to hear what your experience is of these videos and what you're learning. If you have anything you want to share, I'm super wide open to it. So yeah, my sacred sensuality, my sacred femininity came from me just moving, exploring my body, breathing, sitting, deepening into the experience of breathing deeply from different parts of my body. You can breathe from your heart, you can breathe from your stomach, you can breathe from your womb. And throughout the years, I have done so much exploration when it comes to just playing and existing in my body that I truly believe that, there is so much sacredness about it. And there are times in which I move, in which I dance, and I will have different experiences that come up, different feelings that hit me like on a deep soul level where I'm like, oh, wow, like I've done this in a previous lifetime. And it just gets so deep. Your body is a spaceship. Your body is a spaceship to which you can voyage and you can journey into so many deep and so many far places. So I encourage you, if you don't have a movement practice, it can be anything. Just get started. Even if you're just dancing in the mirror, out of the mirror, put on some music and just allow yourself to explore your body, explore your movement. It is like the most fun thing to do. Like, I love being silly with my students. I love being silly when I'm at home, and it is just so much fun. And the last thing I would say that I've learned from being a dancer and a mover, because I'm also a gym rat. Personally, I know the gym isn't for everybody. Like, that doesn't have to be your thing. But from movement in the gym, I have learned the art of discipline, and I have learned how to activate my masculine energy through discipline. Because I am a dancer, specifically an aerialist, it's very important for me to cross train, and it's very important for me to like lift weights and do all those things, which I have been doing since way before I was ever an aerialist. I was always a gym head. So, but it's become even more important as I am an aerialist, because it can be a little abusive on the body. As beautiful as it is, it's kind of abusive, guys. Let's be honest. I mean, so, so working out in the gym and keeping the rhythm of discipline. So you can see discipline as discipline, which is a masculine form of identifying with it, or you can see it as a rhythm. So I know that I have to be in the gym like a certain amount of times throughout the week in order for my body to feel good, in order for my instrument to harmonize properly. So I have really, really learned that discipline of moving through the gym, I can translate that into any aspect of my life and take all of the lessons of muscle development, becoming more flexible. Let me get a drink. Becoming more flexible, becoming more agile physically and mentally and emotionally. I have taken all of this from the journey that I have taken with my body and with exercise and with movement. So that is all I have for you today. I hope you took away something positive. I'm sending you all the love. I'll see you in the next one. One love.